Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. When I was 8 years old, my family and I used to shop at a grocery store called Food for Less. I don't know if they're still open these days. But back in those good old days, stores like that used to have a giant cigarette vending machine right at the checkout stand. And I think you needed to use a credit card. That's how they checked that you were old enough to smoke. One day, as my parents were checking out, I went to the machine to play with it. I hit a couple of buttons, and a whole carton of cigarettes came out. 200 cigarettes. I felt as though I had won the lottery. I had never seen. I wasn't going to smoke them or anything. I didn't even know what I was going to do with them. It was just more than I had ever seen, and I just felt like I had won the lottery. And so after my parents finished checking out, my mom was like, "What are you so excited about?" And finally, I had to tell her what I had found, and she was so upset. Actually, my parents are immigrants, and they just believe in following the rules, and that I would be so excited about getting something for nothing. They were just so upset at me, and eventually, I think my mom gave the cigarettes to a coworker. She was working at Pier One Imports. Pier One Imports has also since closed. Well, a lot has changed since then, and so that was funny. Now looking back at it, and I got excited for. I don't know what I would have done with the cigarettes had my mom not taken them away from me. I don't know. And then I was 12 years old. I was competing in math counts, and we made it to the state contest. So in math counts, you compete at the county level first, and if you're amongst the top whatever number, you go to state, and then you go to national. We were in the state contest in Pennsylvania. We stayed in a hotel in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and my dad chaperoned the group, and that night my dad wanted to use the phone this was before the days of cell phones, if you can believe it, in the hotel room to call my mom to tell her how excited that we were about the trip and all that. And so he had me go down to the lobby to give him his credit card. And while I was down there, I decided to play with the elevator, riding it up and down. And then I got out on this floor that had an arcade room, and I wandered in there as well. And I noticed a crumpled up piece of paper on the floor of the arcade room. I thought it might have been something from the math counts, after all, there were so many kids running around the hotel that night. And I uncrumpled it, and I realized it was a $20 bill. I never found so much money in one place. I felt like a king. And when I got back to the elevator, I could barely breathe. I was so out of it. I was 12 years old, and never seen that much money. After I got back to the hotel, my dad was so upset that I had spent so much time. All he wanted me to do was to give the credit card to the number to the front desk so that we could use the phone. And I had been out for like 45 minutes playing with elevators and wandering the hotel. And then I told him about how I had found $20. And Dad was so upset. Yeah, he doesn't believe in taking something for nothing, right? And but it was nice. It took my mind off of math counts. The next day we had the math counts contest, and I did okay. I think I got 13th place that time out of the state. I wish I had used the opportunity to network more, though. I really didn't network as much as I could in my younger years when there was still a lot of opportunity. Nowadays, when you get to be my age, a lot of times there's too much competition going on. Right? Back then it was for fun. Right now, it's for survival. It's a very different story, right? I was 20 years old. I went to the bank to get rolls of $50 to search. So I'd gone into it was a PNC bank. I asked if they had $50. They had a bunch of loose ones and then a few rolls. And I'm standing at the counter, and as the teller was counting up the loose ones, and I heard a very distinct sound like, oh, I hit the jackpot. And looking over the counter, it looked like the rolls came from where the loose ones came from too. Altogether, I got about, I think, $50 in $50, and every last coin was silver. Some of them 40%, some of them 90%. I took them home, and then I started to feel guilty. Some kid must have stolen his grandparents' coin collection. Because where are you going to see so many rolls of $50 that are silver all sitting together, right? It's not like the coins have been sitting behind the counter since the 1970s, probably, right? That bank probably wasn't even open back then, right? Judging from the location. And then another time I had, this one I should have known better, but I had gone to Walmart, and I had used the self-checkout machine, and for some reason the machine malfunctioned and spit out like $60. Somebody using the machine before me probably had asked for cash back, and it didn't give it out for some reason. It gave it out after I used it. And so I was working on my PhD at the time. It broke as shit, and I kept it. So I believe in financial miracles. One of these days I'm going to be out hiking on my favorite hiking trail, and there's just going to be a ton of gold or some other metal waiting for me. I don't know. I feel like if all of these stories could happen, of finding money in math counts, or finding a carton of cigarettes, or finding like how much silver was it? $50 face value. That would have been. It would have been at least half a kilogram of silver that time. I just feel that if hiking and then finding some precious mineral isn't that out of the question. I feel every day when I go to sleep, I remind myself I'm one day closer to that miracle of some sort. Right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.